And we are back. Today we got to talk about a really big, I'm going to say elite weekend that Oklahoma had in terms of recruiting visits. You had a five-star offensive tackle that Oklahoma's pursued for a while. People have been telling you Texas. I might be telling you different. Oklahoma earned a commit out of this weekend. There's a lot to dissect and talk about. Today I'm going to be joined by Jay with Unfair Sports and a Sooner or Later podcast. Jay, what's going on?
What's going on, PG? You sound a little confident there.
I'm a little. Hey, how long have I had this Fusi prediction in? Since like November.
Yeah, since like the birth of prediction. So yeah, you're probably right about that time.
Yeah. I've had Michael Fusi in for a while, and this is a great place to start because you didn't get Ty Haywood on campus alongside Fasusi. So it was nice to be able to say, okay, Michael's getting his own weekend with Bill Beanbo. Like you had Jordan Coleman on campus, a Texas commit, but let's be honest, you probably aren't flipping him. So
Yeah,
Bill Beanbo probably got to give Michael Fasusi a little bit extra love, and you heard it. Like Michael Fasusi and Bill Beanbo spent a lot of time together, and even in the interviews, this is the thing I always go back to. In the interviews that I've done with him, and even the ones you've seen the Texas on 3 site do with him, he really talks a lot about Bill Bedenbaugh and how Bill Bedenbaugh develops his relationship there. And then when he talks about Texas, what do you hear come out of his mouth? Sark, Sark, Sark. Never Kyle Flood. And Kyle Flood is the offensive line coach at Texas. And to me, if you aren't talking about the coordinator that you're going to be committing to, that's a concern. But I definitely think Oklahoma took the lead here in this recruitment. My only contingency against that would say, if you're Oklahoma, you were hopefully expected to take a lead because he still has his Texas visit this weekend. So now you've just got to survive 1 week. But if you didn't get the lead going into the Texas visit, this recruitment was probably over. So Jay,
fair
what's your
point.
thoughts on Fasusi? Because this is probably, I would say, the prized gem or the crown jewel of this class.
I'd say between him and Ty Haywood are the two that you want the most. And I know we've talked about this before that it appears that the staff is really ready to play ball when it comes to NIL for the big time offensive lineman in this class. Like we talked about it last year, right? The big question was, why Oklahoma hasn't, jumped too heavy in some of the 5 stars in that class and everything. And the rumor was is that Oklahoma was way more interested in this class in comparison because they felt like this was the one that they were going to be able to. They felt like there was more talent in 25 in comparison to 24. And granted, we saw that is about like 5 or 6 5-star offensive linemen in, I mean, heck, just tackles right now in this class. And I sense Oklahoma really wants a Fasusi as well as a Haywood because more so, one, they're close. They're not far from Oklahoma. So you got some guys that are actually in the area, which always helps with recruiting. Recruiting guys nationwide, it ain't the easiest. That's why you don't see just a whole bunch. That's why I see majority of people's classes usually are very close proximity in some capacity. And so I think Oklahoma does have a chance though. He does speak glowingly about Beatonbow. He called him the GOAT when he tweeted out his picture. You could tell that he has excitement when it comes to those conversations around Beatonbow. So I have a sense that there's a chance for Oklahoma here, but I mean, I stay cautiously optimistic. I mean, I know that you've talked to him and you've got a lot more optimism, but I don't think that it's far fetched to say that Oklahoma has a chance.
Yeah, and I understand everybody's kind of reservations with wanting to say, hey, Oklahoma's going to win this one, because I feel like this is kind of where we were last year with 5-star defensive line recruits, where you just got to see Oklahoma win one because you've
Yep.
lost so many of them. You don't want to give your hopes up. But I think the difference is we're willing to see Oklahoma play ball now. I think last year you started to see Oklahoma get there. And this cycle, you've seen Oklahoma just kind of embrace it. Like when it comes to the NIL game, you got to play it because all of your biggest competitors on the recruiting trail are playing it.
No, I agree. And I think that we are willing to and playing ball. It's just, got to make sure the players are also willing to play, have that conversation with us. And it appears that these are ones they want. And we've noticed that when there's a player that Oklahoma wants, they make it happen. I mean, we saw that with Stoney, right? You know, this Stoney was one they really wanted. EPL was one they really, really wanted, right? You know, looking at Dominic Williams in the transfer portal, we really wanted him. And you start to see the most desired players, they will definitely go after. So, I mean, Branson Hickman, they really wanted him. So you'll see Oklahoma always go all the way in on players they really want. I'm sensing that Fasusi's one of those as well. So probably is a good chance we can land him.
Yeah, and I think the big deal with Fusi is, I think, probably the most ready offensive tackle in this class. Like, he's the most college ready. I don't think he has as high as the ceiling as Ty Haywood or some of those other guys, but his floor is really, really low, which is what makes him the 5-star. But the good news is, if you're an Oklahoma fan, you're seeing predictions come in from the Texas people, not necessarily Oklahoma and A&M people conceding at this point. So, listen, Michael Fusi hasn't turned in a chip. He hasn't committed anywhere. He's going to be taking that Texas visit, making a decision, and then Oklahoma fans will get to find out. But moving on to some better news, right? Oklahoma got a commit this weekend, and it was from a 4-star wide receiver, Marcus Harris. Now, this one came out of absolutely nowhere, Jay. We were actually, I don't know if you were there yet, but we were at the camp, and you saw the tweet come from Emma Jones of, I think it was like a crystal ball, and come to find out a couple hours later, you've got a surprise visit coming from Marcus Harris, a guy that hasn't been on campus since 2023. I think it was July of 2023.
Yeah,
So
it's
he
been a
gets back
while.
on campus, and yeah, I think this is a big one for Oklahoma. It showed that Emmett Jones is just that dude. And now he's got inroads into the state of California. This was in USC's backyard. Texas wanted this kid. Don't believe what they tell you on the Twitters. But what was your thought here on Marcus Harris? Because I was talking to you about this. This commitment came way earlier than I thought it could.
It did. And Marcus Harris, pretty much a dude. We talked about him on the live last night. I did not see this happening this fast. I did not see them closing. I mean, you get him here on a Thursday, and he basically commits on Monday. We knew that there were rumblings around of just the fact that they got this come together. I mean, think about it this way. April, he dropped his top 5. Texas, Oregon, Georgia, Tennessee, and Bama. I don't hear anything about Oklahoma in there. And then UCLA came out of nowhere because he's at Mater Dei right there in, California. They came out of nowhere. And he's like, oh, okay, so he may end up staying home. And then Monday he commits here. Like that shows the influence that we're seeing out of Emmett Jones. He even said it in his interview. I saw a post by OU Insider. He basically said it felt good, and Emmett Jones is a great coach. Not only do we need to get that man a raise, I'm a little nervous about losing him just because Emmett Jones is doing so well. And so that's our 4th wide receiver commit. Third wide receiver commit now. So you've got Grayson Harris, Marcus Harris, no relation, by the way. And then you've got Elijah Thomas here at Chakotah.
Who might be a 5-star by the end of the cycle, by the way.
Yeah, he's moving up. He's top 100.
Camp. Yeah.
Yeah, he's camping very good. He's very athletic.
Yeah.
That's an impressive class. And then there's a chance for another one. I mean, we've got, 3 irons in the fire right now, including Cortez Mills, who was also visiting. So you got, 4 irons in the fire over the next couple of weeks. And I sense that we're probably going to get one more commitment. There's a chance for 2. But, man, taking 5 wide receivers in this class, woof.
Yeah,
sounds a little crazy.
I talked about it in my commitment video with Marcus Harris, but Cortez Mills was on campus. That was a big one, right? 4-star guy, top 100 in the 247 composite. He's got crystal ball predictions to Clemson because he had a really good visit there the week before he came to Oklahoma. But Oklahoma really made a lot of strides in that recruitment as well, which is interesting that he's got crystal ball predictions to end up at Clemson, and Oklahoma and Clemson are very similar in the way that they recruit. Yep. So I think when you look at Oklahoma over Clemson, I think Oklahoma probably has the better wide receiver coach and maybe even the better offense. I think the jury's still out on Garrett Riley. But you still have...
Yeah, well, I think it's less about Garrett Riley, more about Cade Klubnik, and I sense that they'll probably have that fixed by next season. I actually give them a little props on that part.
Yeah, but Cortez Mills, like this is 6'1" wide receiver, so he's not a small kid, but you got Cortez Mills, Manuel Choice, Caleb Cunningham is still out there. It's a distant chance with Caleb Cunningham, but he's still floating around. I personally like Emmanuel Choice. I think with height and everything, I think he's the best option. But at this point, it's race to last commitment at this point. And if you're Oklahoma, I think Emmett Jones can just sit back and start recruiting the 2026 class, which then I also ask myself, how many guys is he going to take in 2026? Because he took like 5 guys last year. And this wide receiver room is loaded.
Yeah,
Loaded.
I think there's a sense that we're going to lose a lot
Yeah.
come this class, because if you really think about it, you've got, Nick Anderson's eligible, Andrew Anthony's eligible, Deion Burks is eligible, Jaden Gibson's eligible, Jalil Farouk's eligible. You got at least 5 wide receivers that are eligible for the draft, right? And I'm thinking probably a minimum of 3 are gone after this season.
I
Minimum, yeah.
imagine Jalil Farouk's a third rounder, but does Emmett Jones have a first round wide receiver?
Deion Burks. Deion Burks can
Numbers.
be. Burks can be, and so can Nick Anderson. They have potential for it. Will they? Don't know. Can they? Yes.
I don't want to know what Emmett Jones can do with a first round wide receiver pick under his belt. That might just be a little scary for any other school. But there is another couple interesting recruitments here that I think we need to talk about. And the first one is Mark, and I'm going to say it's Ehenekor, but you say it's something different.
I think it's Hennicher is what I heard him say on a video. Like I said, I've butchered it like 4 times, and every time I talked about it. But this is from what I heard in a video of him introducing himself. So
Who
I need him to
knows?
come on. I need him to come on and just tell me what it is.
That's exactly what it is. But no, so this one's interesting because he is teammates with the one and only Jaden O'Neal, who I think at this point it's pretty safe to presume that that guy's going to be a Sooner. I think it's pretty safe. And this was another one that I didn't. This one kind of came out of the blue as well. He was supposed to be on campus this week, like the weekday, with Lamont Rogers. Zadarius Rainey-Sell was supposed to be on campus. He won't be here, but he's supposed to be. He moved his visit up while Jaden O'Neal was here. So I thought that was pretty significant. And from what I've heard, Oklahoma might have taken the lead in this recruitment, which now becomes intriguing to me because you also have Elijah Melendez on the other side who is on campus, the current Miami linebacker commit, who I think Oklahoma also probably is leaning for at this point. Now, the only difference is Mark Ehenekor has canceled his upcoming Washington OV. Elijah Melendez is still going back to Miami. So
he's from there, so it makes sense to go back to, Florida and go ahead and take the visit to Miami, the place you committed, and see if they can sell you on staying.
Yeah. The difference is, though, I think you've got Mike Ehenekor in the bag. As far as the other guy,
Mark probably is.
Yeah, I think the other guy, you still have a chance to lose him to Miami at this point. Like, you're giving Miami an opportunity to give you the knockout blow and secure that recruitment up. Now, Miami's NIL collective is an absolute shambles, so maybe they can't put together a package to beat Ole Miss or Oklahoma. But if you're Oklahoma, I mean, I thought at one point we weren't going to get another linebacker commit out of Marcus James. Now it looks like we might get 2 more. So, Jay, I was talking about this earlier. I mean, walk me through what you think, because I think taking 2 linebackers in this class is just kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, that would be 3 linebackers because Marcus James is a linebacker as well. So that gives you 3 linebackers in this class. And remember, last class we only took 1 in Nesta. So you've got the space for it, right? Stutzman's going to be gone. And then from there, it's nothing but young dudes that will have 1 more year left. So from there, when the new guys come in, you can redshirt all of them. Kip, Kobe, Kanik. Yeah, all 3 UKs are basically graduates. They're gone, right? So Kip Lewis should be a graduate, and Show should, and Kobe McKenzie, they'll both have the opportunity to play 1 more season together and probably end up going pro. And then same thing with Kanik. Then you'll have, so it'll be Lewis Carter and Samuel Mosigo running things, and depending on which one is your cheetah or not, that's a determining factor. And then Deshaun McCullough as well. And then so once you have that piece, you're going to just be nothing but young players from there. That will give them the opportunity to learn everything as red shirts. And as soon as 25 season is over, 26 is all theirs. They can play young. That's them playing as red shirt freshmen at that point, unless one of them sneaks in and plays as a sophomore, plays as a freshman and becomes a sophomore instead.
Yeah. And I mean, BV's development at linebacker, it's going to get you these elite linebacker recruitments. Talking to Elijah Melendez, like that's pretty much the main reason why he's looking at Oklahoma. The development at linebacker because of BV. Obviously, Zach Alley helps a little bit because he's like a mini Brent Venables, which I think you got to see him for the first time the other day at camp. So he's excited. Oklahoma fans are going to love that one. But I think it's going to be interesting how this linebacker room shapes out. So Marky Hennicore, I think this is one Oklahoma's going to land, and I think it happens anywhere between now and July 1st because he has a commitment date set up for July 1st, but he canceled the OV to Washington. So maybe something happens a little earlier. As far as Elijah Melendez goes, I think we got to see the Miami visit happen and then probably give it a week or two before we find out anything there in terms of a final announcement. But to kind of round out this weekend, which, I mean, we're just now getting into a 3-star kid. I mean, it was a pretty good weekend. Like, Oklahoma had a 4-star safety in Satona Stewart Jr. I don't bring him up because he's a quiet kid. There's not a whole lot of information coming out. I don't even think he posted about his official visit yet to Oklahoma. And then you also had a 3-star offensive lineman in Jordan Coleman on campus, but he's committed to Texas. I don't think Oklahoma's flipping him. But the last one that I saw Oklahoma get here that I thought was pretty significant was Mekhi Williams-Lee. And Jay, you know how excited I am about this kid. I give him comps to the 5-star Elijah Griffin that's in his own state. Remind you, Mekhi plays 6A football in Georgia. Elijah Griffin plays 3A, and he pretty much has double the stats that Elijah Griffin has and has similar measurables. I think with Mekhi, you just have to fine-tune the skill set a little bit, which that's teachable. You can't teach somebody measurables. So visit went really well. I think Oklahoma's potentially in the driver's seat here, especially as you go into a weekend where you've got Christian Evans coming on for the second time to Oklahoma. This weekend you had Trent Wilson and Floyd Buchard on there, but what's your thoughts here around defensive line? Because this was a class where we said it wasn't super deep, and I mean, we're looking at maybe taking 4, 5 defensive linemen on the interior.
And that's the thing, is that this is that diamond in the rough class, right? You got to find those hidden gems, as well as, a player like an Isaiah Gibson who's 5-star and is pretty elite. You're still hunting though You're hunting for those hidden gems because, like you said, this isn't the deepest. Last year was a lot more deep, right? We picked up Stone, we picked up Jackson, we went into the portal to get veteran presence. Now we want, of course, more, but the bigger question is going to be is how good are the top players, right? Now, I'm not saying that they're bad. It's a question. It's a question we got to wonder. I think Mekhi Williams-Lee, he's one that could show out. Floyd Buchard was one that I really liked. I know that he really loves Ty Bates. Not sure how that visit went. Things need to be quiet, but he's put up a lot of pictures, and I've seen a couple of article notes or whatnot. He's a Canadian that now lives in Miami and goes to Miami Central. That's considered a Miami feeder school. I don't know if that's really going to be the determining factor, but I actually saw what was at a prediction or a crystal ball that went to him to go to USC. So I don't know. The question is, which one is what's he looking for?
I think with Buchard, I just gonna say real quick. I think with Buchard, you have to look at it and say a lot of these schools are going to be the first time he's visited for the first time ever. So
yes,
schools like USC, there's going to be a lot of that hype momentum around those schools because it's the first time he's been there. There's that excitement.
And that's fair.
But
100% fair.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about Miami. I get it. He's at Miami Central. I'm not really worried about it. Oregon, I feel like Oregon might be willing to drop a bag for this kid because I mean I've said it multiple times. You look at Floyd Boucard's size, which I think he's like 315, 320 or something like that, 325.
Yeah, he's
He's a
already
guy
there
you
at the
can
size.
instantly plug and play. And it's
Yeah,
not like he's bad weight, it's good weight.
and that's the thing about him is that he's already at the size that you're looking for when it comes to playing on the defensive line, especially in the SEC. He's already there, right? So that's kind of where I'm just like, man, he's one that I would love to land. I think that he shores up this class on the defensive line and gets you something for the future beautifully. But
So if you had to take a guess today, where does he land? Does he end up at Oklahoma?
I'd say he probably ends up. But that's the thing about it. I don't know what he wants out of his recruitment. There's not much besides the fact that I know he loves Ty Bates and heard too much more on it. So I think Oklahoma has a chance, but he probably ends up at Miami. Just to say he stays close to where he's living today.
All right. Give it give it to Miami there. All right. Appreciate you coming on today, Jay, to talk about the official visit weekend for Oklahoma. We got another big one coming up this weekend. You got Lamont Rogers on campus midweek. You've got potentially Ty Haywood at the end of the week, and then you've got a big Champ U barbecue visitor list. So we'll be diving into that, whether it's on your show or over here. But where can everybody find your content at?
You know where to find me. Unfair Sports. Search for me here on YouTube as well as whatever podcasts or download, listen to. Thanks for having me, PG.
Well, thanks for coming on. Hey, and if you guys haven't already, you made it this far, make sure you go ahead and you hit that like and you hit that subscribe button.